want to do next as I move on from the history that kind of give you a portrait of what Americans were thinking about, that material well-being after World War II, but then the danger of lurking perhaps atomic warfare, the threat of the Soviet Union. How do we get by and how do we live as citizens in a world like this? Well, here's where the novel, The Moviegoer, really becomes a very helpful portrait of American life. I have a copy of the book right here, and I'd like to direct your attention to a couple paragraphs from this reading, because I think these are going to be really helpful for you to get the main point of what Percy is after in giving you a view of American life. I want to turn your attention first off to page 6. Here we have the narrator of the book, Binks Boiling, talking about his life, talking about what life is like after the war. And he says the following, really great literature. Life in Gentilly is very peaceful. I manage a small branch office in my uncle's brokerage firm. So what is he telling us there? He's got a good life. He can pay his bills. He's got a house. He's got the white picket fence and all the rest. And he says as much. He says, my wallet is full of identity cards, library cards, credit cards. Last year I purchased a flat olive drab strongbox, very smooth and heavily built with double walls for fire protection, in which I placed all of my important things. And then he goes on to say, it's my pleasure to carry out the duties of a citizen and to receive and return a receipt or a neat styrene card with one's name on it, certifying, so to speak, one's right to exist. He'll then tell us that life in Gentilly is happy. In fact, the sign outside of Gentilly says, Gentilly, where happiness costs so little. But then as we move on in the chapter, we see that happiness costs quite a bit. You can have your neat styrene card, you can have your credit card, your wallet can be filled with money, you can have your house, you can have everything else. But what is missing in a life like this? What is needed in a life like this? And here's where he talks about on page 8 and 9, the problems with life. And the major problem that he references with life is it seems to be that everyone in the 1950s, and this is a key term, everyone in the 1950s is overcome with a sense of everydayness. Everydayness. What does it mean to say everydayness? Well, everyone just checks off the boxes that they're told to check off. They do what they're told to do. In fact, this is why the title of the book is called The Moviegoer, right? What's he doing? He has a movie provided to him as to how he ought to live as a citizen, and he's sucked into that projection like everyone else, so much to the point that he loses out on something very, very important. My peaceful existence in Gentilly has been very complicated. Why? Because what I lack right now as a human being is I lack an ability to go on a search for meaning in life, a search for what is actually important in life. You see, what Binks is going to tell us is that before, when he was fighting a war and he was a soldier and able to soldier on, right, his whole attention was captured by the war effort. But what happens to American life where you put the war behind you and all you have in front of you is a choice between one consumer good or another? You know, this television or that television, this air conditioner or that air conditioner. Life begins to be reduced to your material pleasures, to your material consumption. And as you've heard me say over and over again in this class, it's a wonderful thing to be able to have the material well-being to get by in life. But we are material beings, and we are also ideational beings. We need a purpose. We need a why. We need to know where we're going, and there are limits as to what material well-being can do for us. So here in The Moviegoer, I think we get a great sense as to that duality in human nature. Yes, we want to tend towards our material well-being, but we also need an answer to the question, why? Binks is after that question, and other Americans would be in the 1950s. And the question is the answer to why that we're given by our leaders enough to satisfy us? Thank you.